Hi there and welcome to the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette and I'm joined by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Chris Nilan and Rick Green. The Canadiens have advanced to the second round of the playoffs after a 2-1 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning in Game 7 of their first round series. Rick, I think one of you guys might have correctly predicted that, right?
Yeah, I think I can remember back the prediction that the Habs would pull it off in 7. I didn't want to bring it up, but now that you opened the door, yeah, I made that call. So anyways, good for them. Just an example of a team that is on a mission and committed to doing whatever they can do to make things, to find a way to win. And my goodness, it was great to see, even though, as everybody's talked about, not getting any shots, but
Yeah.
It was a win.
Knuckles, you, I believe, had the Habs in 6. I was the only one. I had Tampa in 6. I figured the experience and the goaltending would be a difference. The goaltending was a difference, but it was Jakub Dobeš. It wasn't the Tampa Bay Lightning goaltending with Vasilevsky. Knuckles, just your thoughts on the Habs pulling this off?
Listen, it come down to one goal was the difference in the whole series, right? The Habs scored one more goal than the Lightning did. Listen, you know, I'm proud of the way they showed. Come on, they won 3 games down there. 3 games down there. Like, it should have been done in 6. They should have won one at home. And then I would have been the genius instead of Greeny. But listen, you know, Game 7, man, you never know what's going to happen. I always say it, the home team has all the pressure. Habs get the lead, puts the pressure on them. You know, things aren't going their way. Point and Kucherov did diddly squat for that team. So we credit the Canadiens to having something to do with that. But, man, look at Cole Caufield. He led the Canadiens in Game 7 in hits. What's wrong with that picture? You know, it should have been shots. You're not getting the shots. But, listen, everything gets tighter. We talked about it. Everything gets tighter in the playoffs. The check-in. Everybody's in your face when you get the puck. It's so much different than the regular season. And listen, they pulled it off. Whatever, you know, 9 shots, they pulled it off. Newhook and Anderson, I thought played great Game 7s. They were on top. They were physical. Danault, of course. But those guys led the way. When this team was struggling, those guys kept playing their game, and it ended up paying off big time for Newhook and the Canadiens. So good on them, and on would we go to Buffalo.
How do you explain no shots in an entire period in a playoff game?
I mean, in the history books, is not happening.
First time ever in Canadiens history in a playoff game. Yeah.
Strange, you know, how that played out. But, hey, it happened, and the Canadiens found a way to win. That's the bottom line. Move on.
Yeah, well, on to Buffalo now with Game 1 set for Wednesday night in Buffalo. I mean, the main reason they won for first round series is Dobeš in net. 923 save percentage. He was outstanding. After him, Rick, who was the most valuable player in your mind for the Canadiens?
I can't put my finger on one guy. What I will say is I put that group of defense as the top group of, again, you know, Nux knows that. I don't need to bring that up again, but, you know, Wayne Hudson, 27 minutes. You got Matheson, 25 minutes. These guys blocking shots left and right. Carrier, always in the way, always doing all the little things well. Gooley, I mean, these guys played some serious hockey, very demanding hockey, and yet they did the job. And I got to give them full credit for, you know, standing in there and just doing so many things well. Then you got Dobson coming in Game 7, you know, from his injury and stepping in there like he didn't miss a beat. So back there in the blue line, once again, incredible group that are really, really good together, great chemistry, and they were Johnny on the spot when it came down to being in the right place at the right time and sacrificing themselves for jumping in front of pucks. I mean, they led the league in block shots. These guys were awesome when it came down to no fear and doing whatever they needed to do. Very seldom did they make poor decisions with the puck. Didn't get caught out of in the offensive zone. So very simple, very disciplined, and that's what you need in playoffs. And they did it to a T, and that hopefully will continue because it gives them a chance.
Yeah, Texas really did step up. 2 goals, 2 assists in the 7 games, and a +4. I thought Zachary Bolduc played well also, Knuckles. He had a goal, 3 assists. He was a +5. I guess you're not going with the defense. Who are you taking as
No, that line was really good.
Yeah.
Through the series. Game 7, not so much. I look at Little Hudson. I mean, that was an incredible series by him. I think the reason why I say him is because I think a lot of people thought he was going to get abused and maligned during this series because it's so physical. He is so smart with his stick, his body positioning for his size. He's so quick. I think for sure him, other than Dobesh. Dobesh, for me, you look at that Game 7. There was one, I think it was James. He had 2 shots from the hash marks in the same sequence, probably about 15 seconds apart. He got one. He was standing there all alone. I don't know who was supposed to be covering him. I don't know.
It was probably a forwards man.
And then 15 seconds later, he was still standing there. No one was covering. He got another shot. And Dobesh made saves on both of them. It was incredible. Like, they were so bad in their own end at times. They were. Like, let's face it. The shots he had, I think I said this before the series. He can't have to stand on his head every game. And he did stand on his head every game. It's incredible that he persevered through all that because he had some very difficult stops to make. He's a gamer. He's a challenger. And I just love the way he played it. He saved their ass. Bottom line, saved their ass. Dobesh. Forget the rest.
He certainly did. Rick, I imagine you saw the post-game celebration in the locker room after Game 7 with Marty St. Louis pounding his chest and stealing a line from actor Leonardo DiCaprio from The Wolf of Wall Street saying, "We're not leaving." I mean, you've been in the locker room as a player and as an assistant coach. Have you seen a coach with that much emotion after a game? And just what were your thoughts on it?
I haven't seen anything like that. And it just shows you, Marty, he's a special guy. The guys obviously love him. They love what he says. They love what he does. He's very emotional and very involved, and a huge part of the success comes from him. And to see something like that in that celebration, you could see all the guys pounding their chest and taking part as a real special celebration, and they just want to keep going. And Marty's going to do everything he can to make sure they're prepared, and you got to give him marks for picking his spots for guys that are going to be on the ice, picking his decisions to move guys around in the lineup and to push all the buttons to allow the team to perform and do what they do best, and that's finding ways to win.
What do you think, Knuckles? And what do you just think of the job Marty's done with this team, not just in this series, but since he came in here and took over?
Yeah, it's been incredible. Come on, it's been a slow, steady climb to improvement and to where they are now, right? You look at when this whole thing started, when he came in, everybody saying, "Oh, he coached kids. He's still coaching kids. I think he has certainly a special way of communicating with players. I love some of the things he certainly says. He doesn't give up on a player unless a player gives up on himself, but on him. There's I love the line, there's guys that play hockey, and then there's hockey players. Listen, he has the pulse of his team and his players. All you got to do is listen to the captain, what the captain talks about him. He sounded like a little kid. He goes, "He's the best coach in the whole wide world, the whole world." And that's awesome. Like, he connects with his guys. He's a great communicator and teacher. And, as far as the thing afterwards, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street thing, I don't think that was the first time that happened. It must have happened before, but yeah, that's a cool thing. Good on them. They got through that first round, and now hopefully they settle in and become a better team offensively. Some of the things that we saw from, especially that top line, can they get it going in the second round? They're gonna need them. That's for sure. The PK was awesome in that series, right? Needed it big time. But again, your goalie's the best penalty killer.
Well, as you said, Marty's line, one of his favorite lines, I don't give up on a player unless he gives up on himself. This team doesn't give up on themselves. And we saw that during that 7-game series. Rick, I think I'm going to cut you off there. You were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, unlike our years, Marty has a different approach when it comes to going in the dressing room only when he really feels that he needs to go in there. And, in our days, and Nux can attest to that too, we used to hear the same song and dance of the coach coming in, and we'd be listening to him. And at least for me, it was like, yeah, I know. How much longer before, you leave so we can think about what we need to do as a group. And Marty is a new generation type guy that's got a real good sense of understanding what the players' room is all about and when he needs to go in and identify some of the problem areas that he'd like to see cleared up. And he's the eternal optimist. He's always brings in positivity. And I think the guys feed off of that. He'll give the constructive, negative stuff. But I think at the end of his time in the room, it's one of positivity and do this and do that. I think it's going to be better off for us. And out he goes, and those guys find a way to group together and make their game better.
Yeah, Marty has said that a lot, that the locker room's the players' place. He doesn't go in there that often. And he also said it's their team, not my team. He says, I just sort of guide them. And that's sort of a cool way. And he also said after that celebration, sometimes the player in him comes out. And that was the case we saw after the Game 7 win. On the other side of it, Knuckles, Lightning coach John Cooper, he praised the Canadiens for the way they played and what they did. He also said, though, in a way he's probably right, the hockey gods were on their side in Game 7. Do you believe in the hockey gods?
No, I don't. I believe in, guys showing up and playing their heart out, and it doesn't always go your way. Doesn't. There's games you deserve to win and don't win. There's games you don't deserve to win and you win, like the Canadiens in Game 7. And, the hockey gods, I don't believe in that, but I understand what he's getting at. Like, he's been very, come on, the guy's a great coach, and he's a great communicator. He gives honest assessment no matter what. That's hard to get up there when you lose. I'll always be gracious when you lose. Don't dump it on the other team. And he was really good at that. And it was probably a bit humbling. 4 years in a row out in the first round, hoping to beat the Canadiens here, thinking, okay, we got back, we got Game 7 at home, and he was very gracious in that, and had some really good things to say, and even said we got out goalied. I mean, Vasilevsky didn't play bad at all. I mean, come on, it's 1 goal difference, but Dobesh was 1 goal better.
Yeah, and as Cooper also said, he said, it's real life. So that's what makes sports so great. He says you don't get to do a retake of a movie. I mean, you limit a team to 9 shots on goal. You expect you're going to win, right? But I thought I thought also he was gracious the way he spoke afterwards. Rick, what were your thoughts of just on the hockey gods and what Cooper had to say afterwards?
Well, first of all, he wasn't that gracious when he walked off after Game 6 and put his one finger up in the air like one more match for us. It was a touch of arrogance in my book, which came back to bite him. And I'm not a big hockey god believer, but what I am a believer in your group, knowing down deep that you have the confidence and the will to find ways to win hockey games. And I can just go back to our years where we had a lot of success in playoffs, and it came from the group in that dressing room where each and every guy, even though we might have been behind and weren't playing that well, I think down deep we knew, when we looked around, we knew that somebody was going to make the difference. And that was the case more often than not, that guys found a way through confidence and desire to win the hockey game. And, Montreal Canadiens right now, they have that sense, and the hockey gods don't come into it. Yes, it's a game of bounces, it's a game of breaks, but ultimately it's a game of feel for what you have in your dressing room, knowing very well somebody's going to be the hero in that room, and it's happening for them right now.
Knuckles, we did a bonus episode last week on you guys talking about your Game 7 experiences. I know you talked about the win over Hartford and your 86 run to the Cup. What impressed you the most about the way the Canadiens handled themselves during that Game 7, despite the struggles they had in the second period?
Come on, they didn't play that well. What do you mean? Yeah. Like how they handled themselves. They stuck with it. Did you think they played well?
No. But they came out with the win. Yeah, what do you think? Just how they handled themselves, despite not playing well, they came out with the win.
How did they handle themselves? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I don't get how it was the goalie. It was really the goalie in the end. And listen, and not because Newhook scored the winning goal. He was skating. He was on top all night. Anderson, Deneau, those guys. And not that the other guys aren't trying. And Nick Suzuki stepped up. Great tip. Again, bounce. 2 goals, bounce. And Newhook's goal, again, that's eye-hand coordination right there, baby. Picked it out of the air. So what if it went off the goalie's ass? At least it didn't go off of Newhook's ass. He did something to make it go in, other than bump it with his ass. But, I just, for a team that didn't play all that well, 9 shots. You can't say they played well. To win that hockey game is incredible. And I just, Game 7. Maybe down the road that helps them if they have to play in another Game 7. I mean, the whole series, they said it. Every game was kind of like a Game 7, right? They were so tight. It was incredible. But good on them. They got through it. And on to beautiful Buffalo.
on to Buffalo is right. Rick, what do the Canadiens need to focus on to beat the Sabres? Obviously, more shots. I mean, as you said, no shots. Both goals they scored in Game 7. One, a deflection by Suzuki that then hit a Lightning defenseman and then went in the net. And, Newhook batting it out of midair from behind the net, putting it in off the goalie. I mean, there's not a lot of highlight reel goals in the playoffs. There's a lot of them are just garbage goals type. Is that the main thing they need to focus on, maybe, Rick? Just throw the puck at the net?
That's the playoff. The tic-tac-toe plays are not happening. If you look around all the playoffs, they're the greasy goals, if you will, where there's things that happen in front and bounces and pucks go to favorable places. And sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't go in. So it's really a fine line. I think Buffalo, it's going to be an interesting series with 2 highly skilled teams that love the wide open run and gun, if you will. And it's going to be close. But what I do like about the way that things have played out for Montreal is that series that they just, found a way to beat Tampa is going to benefit them, I think, from a learning experience and understanding that before it started, they were marked as not being able to match the physical play of what Tampa was going to bring. And as the series went on, and we saw on a game-to-game basis, they stood in there and they went toe-to-toe and hit for hit and did not back down and were not intimidated. So the Buffalo series, I don't think will be the same type, but I like the feel that the Montreal Canadiens have right now, that they got through a tough series. Now they're going to be matched up against obviously a very good team. But I like the feel that they have going into it, that they learned a lot from the Tampa series, and they're going to bring it into round 2.
Knuckles, I know games changed a lot since you guys won the Cup in '86, but was that something you guys focused on? Was like throw the puck at the net and then look for bounces and rebounds and stuff like that?
Yeah, and listen, today I'm sure they talk more about controlling the puck, hang on to the puck a little bit longer. We see it. Move the puck, yes, but when you get it, don't just throw it away. And sometimes, just putting it off the wall and getting it out is the right play. We've seen how many times we see guys turn the puck over and they're into the rink because they're looking to make a play with it, which I get. You want to make plays. But, boy, the Habs got in some trouble there on quite a few occasions when the simple play is usually the best one to make. But again, this team, I don't know, going up against Buffalo here, yeah, they're gonna have to play their strengths. There's no question. They gotta get in, get a forecheck going. I think it's gonna turn to a little bit of a physical series too. How can it not? You know, they have a pretty good sized team. Buffalo, they're young too, but is it going to be that feeling out, period at the first game? We'll see. I think they have got to go in there and take it to them the first game. Go in there and get that first game, put some pressure on them, put some pressure on them, and you get one, you get a chance to get two.
The power play is going to be a key also, Rick. I mean, Slavkovsky had 3 power play goals in game 1. After that, they didn't do much on the power play. Again, maybe passing the puck too much. What do they need to do to get the power play going?
More of a threat from a shot from the blue line. They're always trying that tic-tac-toe, cross seam. Everybody is aware of what they're trying to do, whether it's to Demidov, whether it's to Caufield. Keep the opposition a little bit, off in the way of getting some shots from the point a little bit. Get pucks through, get guys going to the net, get some ugly ones because they're not getting those beautiful seam passes that they had before during the regular season. It's a much more difficult. And if they get into a situation where they're getting pucks through and they're finding ways to get rebounds or screens and getting some goals, they can always go back to trying to make those seam plays when they're available. But I think they need more threat from shots from the point to get to the net and allow some guys to cross the net. They got some guys that are really good at getting to the net now. So start off with that.
Now, because you mentioned earlier, they won 3 games in Tampa in the first round. This team's been better on the road all season than at home. Is it maybe to their advantage, the Canadiens, that they're starting this series in Buffalo and Buffalo has home ice advantage?
Yeah, listen, it is what it is. They're gonna. That's where they're starting. So get ready to play. They'll be on their toes. They have to go in there. Hopefully there's no emotional letdown there after you got to pick up where and get going again pretty quick. It's like, okay, we got through the first down. 7 games, can be taxing physically, but you got to crank it up right away for that next series. So starting in Buffalo, hopefully they do that. Give Tampa Bay a lot of credit. Their penalty kill was unbelievable when it came to they did not let the Canadiens set up. Anytime they got the puck, they took away options from them and put them under immense pressure all the time. And then the Habs was still trying to make those plays, but a lot of time the puck went up top there. That defenseman, Hudson, he had pressure. They made him go one way with it, kind of taking the shot away too. So that was difficult. Looking at Buffalo, they had 1 power play goal against Boston. So, does that bode well for the Habs right now? Yeah, but they still have some great players that can get that done. I'm sure they're gonna look at the tape and see what Buffalo does on that power play and see the best way to defend against it. So hopefully they go down there and they take that first game. That's all. Focus that one game, get a good start and get going.
Rick, if you were still assistant coach with this team, what would your main focus be on what they have to do to beat the Sabres?
Well, I think really they've had success for most of the year. I think that, looking at, if you want to look at their regular season with the, two wins, 2 losses against Buffalo, they're aware of what they need to do, which is play with the puck, get some pressure on their defense. The defense Buffalo's got some good, big, mobile guys, but they can still make mistakes once they're faced with some good speed on the forecheck. Montreal has good speed on the forecheck. Canadiens have to continue to plug up the neutral zone, which they've done really well in holding the blue line. But I think the asset that the Habs have is they've got a lot of guys with a lot of speed, and they have to take full advantage of that and make sure they push it at Buffalo and give their defense, like every series, make things really difficult on them on the forecheck and get pucks to the net, because their goaltending has been really, really good. and you can't allow their goaltender to see pucks because he's going to make the save. So you're going to have to cross the net and really pay the price to make it difficult on their goalies.
Knuckles, apart from jumping on the Sabres in game one, as you mentioned earlier, what else would you be telling this team they need to focus on going into the series?
Yeah, certainly physicality, getting to the net, getting pucks to the net. It's like we said, those simple, sometimes it seems simple, but when you look at it, it's the greasy goals, getting pucks through the net. Everybody blocking shots today, right? And sometimes you got to just simplify things. I think one area I'd like to see them because they're a good transition team and able to counterattack pretty well is maybe get a goal or two off the rush because, certainly I look at the top line, there were times they got a forecheck going, but there were times Slav had the puck and he's dumping in, and he's dumping in for Cole's the first forechecker. That wasn't working. He's getting in there, getting on, but guys can kind of hold him off a little, and boom, the puck's coming the other way. I think they got to get certainly a better forecheck overall this series. But when they get it going, they start cycling and moving the puck. They can make things happen. They're going to have to, skating. They got to be a good skating team this series and physical team.
Well, they definitely get more 5-on-5 goals from their top three forwards, Suzuki, Caufield, and Slafkovsky. Rick, what does Cole Caufield have to do to start scoring again 5-on-5 against Buffalo?
Well, he's had success before. I mean, the 8 games, he's got 8 goals against Buffalo. So he knows it. He knows that he can do better. I think he's going to bring some real good threat against the Buffalo Sabres. So I'm confident these type of things happen in series where a guy gets a little bit stale, but ultimately when you have that kind of skill set and that knack for the net, it's going to resurface again, and he could be a dangerous player in this series.
What would you be saying to Cole Caufield right now, Knuckles?
Yeah, you got to go just, reset in your head and get going and be that hungry player that moves in and out and dots in and out and gets open and is able to get pucks. And, don't hesitate when it comes time to shoot. That's his game. Get that puck and shoot. He certainly struggled. But again, I'll say it. Give Tampa Bay credit. They were up his ass and in his face all the time. You don't face that during the season. So all of a sudden it's there. It's like a shock to the system. Okay, it'll change next game. Then boom, they're right in your face again. It's not an easy game to play come playoff time. So I'm not saying he's taking it easy. It's just you got to give the other team some credit on that stuff. And he's going to have to fight through that this series. There's no question. You got to fight through it and just stay positive and keep going, and it's going to come. So I hope for him. He's a great kid and certainly had a great season, but playoffs are different, and I'm sure he understands that. And I got a good feeling about him this series.
Well, Canadiens and Sabres, Rick, they haven't met in the playoffs since '98. Part of that is because the Sabres didn't make the playoffs for 14 years in a row. The Sabres swept that series back then. But back in the old Adams division days when you guys were playing, it was quite the rivalry. What memories are some of your best or worst memories about playing against the Sabres back in the day?
Well, I have the worst memory because when I got traded to come to Montreal, we got traded because we wanted to find ways to win the cup. And I remember, I think it was in '81 when we played Buffalo, and there was 2 out of 3 series. They knocked us off in 3 games, and it was like going, "Oh no, this is not the scenario that I wanted to have happening." But I don't recall any series beyond that it seemed that it was a Buffalo Montreal type of battle. I think we were always playing Boston, we were always playing Nordiques, and we were playing everybody else other than Buffalo. But in today's game, you can see how, especially this year, Buffalo has excelled in so many areas, and they're going to have their hands full with them, but it's going to be a challenge that I think they can meet.
What do you remember?
I believe that was 1983, Rick.
Thank you very much, Mr.
I believe.
Fisher.
What do you remember of playing in Buffalo apart from that little odd they used to play in their knuckles?
Yeah, that odd was quite the building, kind of like Boston Garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one good thing about it, it was small, but when you got hit into the glass there, you would go like 3 or 4 rows back
I
into
remember
the
that the
stadium.
boards would do this. Yeah.
Yeah, the glass was giving. You know, the Forum was like a Jersey barrier, the glass and the boards. Like, it didn't move, didn't budge.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think it was 83. We lost 3 straight to them. And that wasn't fun, no question. But, yeah, a whole different building, whole different thing in Buffalo, whatever. Chicken wings, chicken wings, chicken wings.
It's gonna be interesting in Buffalo how many Canadiens fans make the trip there. I know on social media, Sabres fans have been saying, "Don't let the Canadiens fans take over our building." That'll be something to watch. So before we wrap up here, time for predictions, gentlemen. Rick, since you nailed it in round 1, let's start with you.
I'm going to go with the Canadiens in 6.
All right, Knuckles.
I'm going to say Canadiens in 6.
It's going to make it 3 for 3. I against Tampa, I thought Tampa would give them their biggest problem in the playoffs. That it was a tough first round matchup. They got through it. They won in 7. So I'm going to say Canadiens in 6 also. So for 3,
there we go.
We'll see what happens moving forward. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. We'll have a couple of bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so you can look for those. Game 2 against the Sabres will be Friday in Buffalo before the series comes to Montreal for Game 3 on Sunday and Game 4 next Tuesday. Before we go, I want to send our best wishes to Renaud Lavoie of TVA Sport, who suffered 2 strokes ahead of Game 6 last Friday at the Bell Center, but thankfully is recovering well now. Get well soon, Renaud. I look forward to seeing you back at the Bell Center after you have fully recovered. Our best wishes. In case you didn't know, Hockey Inside Out is available now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. We'll be back with a new Hockey Inside Out show next Wednesday to talk about how this series started.